Today we are going to go over my draft for the WCBL Season 2. Going into this draft, I did not really have a plan except for what mega I wanted, and then as soon as it got to my turn, I was like, what do I want to go with this mega? And so I decide to pick up Mew. Still trying to figure out what kind of team I will want to go for, since Mew is a jack of all trades kind of mom with moves, a wide variety of move pools. It is a mon that I drafted just so that later on, once I have a finalized plan, I do not have to worry about other mons being taken up that could fit that plan, since I didn't really have to go. So some plans I have this season for Mew is, of course, to use that Town Pass to go into other mons. And I also want Mew to be used more offensively, since in most leagues it does fall into a more defensive position. However, when drafting, I forgot to realize that Mew is going to be my only rocker, so I will have to bring rocks, a defensive set with rocks, a few weeks, but I still plan to try and avoid that. And of course, I am revealing my mons in the order that I drafted them. So next up, I was 14th in the draft pick, so kind of late. Still glad that I was able to get a good mon like Mew that late. And then next up in the draft, I got. Oh wait, yeah, my Mew is nicknamed Season 2 because this is Season 2 of the WCBL, and it is the WCBL mascot this season. Following up after Mew, I started to finalize my plan for what I wanted drafted based on my mega pick later on. So I decided to draft Zapdos because I did want that strong defensive core, because I tend to play more on the defensive side. With Zapdos, you could run a bulky defogger set, as well as with that 125 special attack, nothing to sleep on. I can hit things hard with maybe like a discharge or maybe a heat wave. If I want to bring a more offensive set, Zapdos also gets Light Screen and Tailwind. Tailwind support is nice for some of my mons because I do have one of the slower teams in this draft. And that's about it for Zapdos. Overall, a good Pokemon that I wanted. Fits my playstyle, as well as gets momentum. Like half my draft, I believe, has momentum, which I like. Next up, my third pick. I really wanted it to be Tangrowth, but in this round, someone picked it up before I could, throwing my whole draft into disarray. So I had to re-strategize, and I figured that there wasn't another tier 2 grass I wanted, so I had to flip things around and decide to avoid my tier 2 pick and went straight to tier 3 with, oh yeah, Battery Jesus, Zapdos. That's a reference to Twitch Plays Pokemon. Next up, I have Gone the Darmanitan as a tier 3 pick. Like I said, skipping my tier 2 because Tangrowth was sniped from me. Gone is a character from the Monkey Ball series, and he has a red shirt on. He is an ape, kind of like Darmanitan, and my thoughts into picking Darmanitan was that I wanted a hard-hitting physical attacker that can break walls into a lot of people's teams. Decent speed with a speed of 95. Not the fastest out there, but with a scarf set, it could punch a lot of holes, as well as choice banded, maybe life orb, to do a lot of damage to people's slower mons. And yeah, that's about it. It also gets me momentum, which is nice. Could use Will-O-Wisp on it, maybe. Might go for that belly drum set once if I decide to bring a Tailwind support. Could go for a subset with Focus Punch. You never know in League. And after this, I wanted to pick up my Dragon type because it looked like a lot of people were already in the tier 3s, and I really wanted this Dragon type because I think it provides a lot of... It's highly underrated as a mon, and that is Darude, my Flygon. The nickname Darude for Darude Sandstorm, with that boom burst, dropping those beats, as well as Bug Buzz, sound moves, ha 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 ha. About Flygon, it also has a speed of 100, like Zapdos and Mew, so kind of not so happy about those speed tiers being roughly the same. But with that attack stat and special attack stat, well, special attack is okay, attack is about average. But the real reason I wanted Flygon was because it provided me another defogger, as well as it has a wide variety of moves on the special and the physical. And I made Flygon my Z Captain. With Z moves, even with that 100 attack and 80 special attack, the Z move coming out from this will hit hard, and people might not be able to predict if it's going to be special or physical, so they might bring in a wall that counters the physical side, and I'll click a Z move that's on the special side and blow it back. It also gives me another U-turner. It gets Roost to sustain itself, Tailwind to get that speed, like I said, since quite a few of my mons later on will be on the slower side. And let's see, what else does it get? It gets the hidden powers. It does not get rocks. Rip and pepperoni. But I knew that already. It does get Sandstorm if I want to go with the memes. That's about it. Oh, I could always go for Z Tailwind. I do believe that increases critical chance, and if I want to go for a get those crits off of Air Cutter, or Stone Edge. Stone Edge has a high crit rate naturally, and if I use like a Z Tailwind, I will most likely be getting crits off Stone Edge every time I hit it. And that's about it for my Darude Flygon. Next up, I decided on what mon I wanted to replace my Tangrowth. So I really wanted that bulky grass type, so I went and picked up myself Chestnut, nicknamed Juggernaut from the Marvel villain, because he kind of looks like he is the villain with that armor on his back and looks like he'll just go right in, charge in right ahead. Juggernaut does provide a lot of defensive bulk with that 122 defense, and this is where my mons start to get on the slower side with speed of 64. Chestnut is my only other hazard stacker with spikes, so I could bring a spike set, but that requires it to be more of a support mon, and I like to bring my bulky offensive mons. This is also why I decided to draft Chestnut, because it does have that 107 attack. If I give it like maybe a choice band, probably not a choice band, some item to help increase its damage, maybe run bulk up on it, get that defense and attack boost, maybe another belly drum mon under Tailwind could do a lot of damage. It does get that Dragon Claw. I actually did not know that Chestnut got Dragon Claw. That's a bit strange. It does have that break to destroy people's screens if they decide to set up screens, making it easier for mons like my Mew and my Flygon, which do have attack stats and special attack stats at 100 and below, to help get them to have the damage they need if people decide to bring screens against me. I could bring a Leech Seed set, a Pain Split set. I could even bring Reflect on this to increase my defenses if I decide to do that. Super Fang to help break down those really hard walls, such as I do believe Z did draft a Shuckle. Shuckle being super defensive with that Super Fang, I do not have to worry about that. I will be doing half of its HP. And could always run Synthesis. I already mentioned Belly Drum under the Tailwind, which Flygon, Zapdos, and Mew all three can run. And that is about it. I could always bring a really defensive set with Iron Defense if someone has a more physical attacking team. That's about it for Chestnut. Next up, we are getting to about the halfway point. Yeah, the halfway point of the draft. And at this point, I wasn't really 100% sure what I wanted for the rest of my draft, but I did know which Mega I wanted, and I did not want it to be snatched up, even though probably wasn't going to be snatched up, because it is in the lowest tier Megas, and that is my Sackboy Untethered Mega Bayonet, which I think is actually pretty good, seeing as how it is in the lowest tier of Megas. It's probably there because I believe before Sun and Moon, when you Mega Evolved, you did not get that Prankster right away, as well as the speed on mons that Mega, but since now it does get that Prankster right away as it Megas, I can pull off Prankster moves like Calm Mind, Cotton Guard, Destiny Bond if they have set up a mon with a lot, like Ju has Mega Gyarados, which can set up Dragon Dances quite easily. Spectrum has the Volcarona, which can set up Quiver Dances quite easily. If I'm really worried about those, I could bring my Mega Bayonet Mega and click that Prankster Destiny Bond if they go for the attack, and take it out with my Mega Bayonet. Then I won't have to worry about those threats. Could always run that foul play if for some reason I am not running attack on this, even though probably with that 165 attack I will not be running foul play because of that 165 attack. But just in case, I am bringing like some weird defensive set with Calm Mind and Cotton Guard. Just maybe. I could always also with that Prankster get a Prankster Pain Split off. Mega Bayonet also does get knockoff, which is nice because there are a few mons out there that are going to be running Eviolite, which I will want to knock off. It gets Pursuit to Pursuit Trap mons, such as Cresselia, which Z drafted once again. It is his mascot after all. I could get off a Z substitute, or not Z substitute, a Prankster substitute, or a taunt with that Prankster on a fast mon, like, I don't know, what's a fast hazard stacker? Maybe Azulf. Don't know why an Azulf would want to stay in and click rocks against a Mega Bayonet, but it might, I don't know. I could Will-O-Wisp. I cannot trick since this is a Mega, but that's fine because I do get all these other awesome Prankster moves. Could go for the special side with Calm Mind. A 93 special attack is nothing to sleep on if you get like 2 Calm Minds off. Maybe even run Charge Beam on it. I don't know. Get that special attack up. Could run, if I'm not mistaken, this does get Trick Room. Yeah, I could run Trick Room on this for my slower mons, making it into a threat. But the main reason I drafted this was since it is a low tier Mega, most people might not expect it to do as much work, but I'm planning on putting in a lot of work with this Mega. I think it is highly underrated, and that is mainly why I drafted it. After this, the only mon I was for certain that I wanted was my tier 5, but since I did draft a lower tier Mega, I did get those extra points for drafting, so I figured I would get 2 more tier 3s, seeing as how I already had 3, and I wanted a mon that helped a lot with the fact that Dark and Ghost kind of hit me hard with my Mega and with my Mew, so I went with a Dark type myself in BP, the Lolamuck. Lolamuck is quite deadly with that 105 HP, which is quite high, and that Spadef at 100. If you slap on an Assault Vest, there's not that much special attackers can do to it. It does get Poison Touch, which I could run if I wanted to bring a more offensive set. That 105 attack means that it can do somewhat bit of damage to mons. And having a poison type is nice for those fairy types, which are quite common with those harder to break fairy types like Florges and Clefable. Both of those mons were drafted, and this really helps my team so far with punching holes in that, and like I said before, it helps cover up a dark resistance. Gives me a dark resistance, so I do not have to worry about my Mega Bayonet and my Mew being hit by those Ghost and Dark type moves super effectively. It also gets Gluttony, so I can run a Figgy Berry or any of those other 50% berries. Maybe a berry that increases its attack, I don't know yet. It does get disabled. I could run a disabled set if I am worried about a Pokemon with a certain move running through my team. Clear Smog if I am worried about setup. Like I said before, there are a lot of people with setup mons out there that could put in a lot of work. Once again, it does have another Brick Break user to break screens. I don't like people that set up screens. It does get another knockoff for mons like Type Null. Someone has Type Null that could run a Violite. Want to knock those off and other pesky items off with that knockoff, as well as Pursuits trap some mons in, which I already mentioned with my Mega Pokemon, and it gets quite a good move pool all around. Physical, special, gets good moves like Curse to help set up. Could use Infestation to trap a Pokemon in on my Lolamuck as I set up with that Curse. Could slow things down with moves like Rock Tomb. Could set up both my defense and Spadef with Stockpile. If people from last season will know that I do like to run Stockpile mons, because last year I did bring Lantern a lot with Stockpile, because boosting both defense stats is quite nice. Helps add a survivability. And that is it about for my Lolamuck. For my next pick, we are getting quite close to the end of the draft, and I do not have my fairy yet, but the reason why I did pick my next Pokemon, even though it is a fairy, was not for its fairy typing, but because it helps give a good support mon, and that is Caitlin Snow, my Alolan Ninetails, which does get that Aurora Veil, which gives me a Reflect and Light Screen all in one, which is quite nice with my mons. That, since most of my mons are more of offensive bulk, not full bulk, it does help give them that extra defenses to take hits and get some setup on them. And this gets Snow Warning, which I will most likely run when I bring it, since the main reason I drafted it was for that Aurora Veil. It is also one of the few mons that, as an ice type, gets Freeze Dry, which is useful because there is at least one person, I think there was two if I remember correctly, that had a weakness to a Freeze Dry ice type Pokemon. It also gives me a speed of 109, so bringing up my speed, since my other Pokemon that are higher speed are all at 100 so far. Gives me a nice Encore user, nice Freeze Dry, Blizzard, Moonblast user. Could run Nasty Plot on it if I want to bring it offensively. but like I said before, its main uses is that Aurora Veil. And that's about it for it. After my Alolan Ninetails, I wanted to draft had my fairy type, and I am now lacking my steel type and my water type. But at this point, I figured I will be taking my tier 2 as a water type, and a lot of people didn't have enough points left for a tier 2, so I was safe in skipping over my water type for this next pick and going for my steel type. And with the points I had to draft or maybe not, hold on. Yeah, no. Never mind, this is my tier 4 pick as a steel type, and it also pairs somewhat well with Alolan Ninetails, and that is my Escavalier. Escavalier gets Swarm, Shell Armor, and that Overcoat, which will protect it from the hail from Alolan Ninetails, which after that Aurora Veil will help it make it quite a bulky mon with that 70 HP and 105 in both defenses, which is quite nice. And that 135 attack is nothing to sleep on if I decide to bring it as a more offensive mon. It does have only a speed of 20, but as before, as I shown with my previous picks, I could run Trick Room on either Mew or Mega Bayonet if I wanted to. I could run Tailwind on Mew, Zapdos, or Flygon if people have slower teams. That speed 20 will get me to at least a 300 speed. It gets Drill Run, which is nice because it has a high crit ratio. This also helps me with a ground switching with that Lolamuck, and that Darmanitan helps support that Chestnut. So Chestnut is not my only ground switching. This also gets knockoff so people can't just predict if they know they're weak knockoff that I'm going to bring which knockoff mon. It does get that Mega Horn, which will help take out that Cresselia and other bulky psychic types. Does get that Pursuit if they want to switch out, if I predict that. Does get Swords Dance, and Substitute gets that high crit on X Scissor if I want to bring maybe a Scope Lens on it. I believe Scope Lens is the one that increases crit. Yeah, Scope Lens. To increase that critical chance and just crit a lot of people. It gets somewhat a nice move pool on the physical side. Does get that Fell Stinger if someone's low. Or maybe I bring this in on a mon that is super effective on it, and then they decide to switch in an already weakened mon as a sack so they can go into something that can deal with it. I can hit it with that Fell Stinger, get that +3 attack, and then something that could possibly deal with it might not be able to tank it anymore. Does get Iron Defense to increase that defensive stat, which is quite nice with that 105 defense and that 105 special defense. With that Iron Defense, I could run like stats and HP and Spadef and leave off defensive investment, and then use Iron Defense to get that defense up with that special defense and tank a lot of hits. Does get reversal if I am worried about getting hit down low. Does get that Smart Strike, which cannot miss, which is nice because a lot of times in leagues, a lot of games do come down to people using like maybe 90% accuracy and 70% accuracy moves, and if it misses, it makes them lose the game. Don't want to have to fear that. So nice to have a move that does not miss. Does get the Twin Needle, which hits twice, and each hit has 20% chance to poison. If I want to poison someone with that, I could do it. And that's about it for Escavalier. And Escavalier is nice even though it has that 4-time weakness to fire, because I do have my next pick will cover that up as a water as my tier 2, as well as my Flygon can take in fire type hits quite well. And so onto my tier 2 pick, which is my water type. I decided to bring back my Primarina, the Valkyrie, from Season 1. This put in a lot of work for me last season, running Specs and Scarf with that Water Fairy Stab. Does a lot of damage. It is on the slower side, like the last half of my team that I've covered, but with that 126 attack and that 116 speed buff and 80 HP, it can take in a lot of hits, and it can do a lot of damage back, like I said, with that fire and water stab, or not fire and water, fairy and water stab. And it gets nice coverage with Energy Ball, Psychic, Ice Beam, the works. It does get Paris Song if I am worried about some setup mon that this can sit in front of, and then Paris Song and force it to switch out. It does get the screens, which is nice to have if I do want to bring Ninetails. I could set up screens with this. Does get Amnesia to increase that speed buff, which is also nice. And it could set up Misty Terrain if I'm worried about statuses, since I do not have my only status removing Pokemon is my Mew, and I want to bring it more as an offensive Mew most of the time. And that's about it for Primarina. And last but not least is my last pick, which is my tier 5. I did want a mon that broke 1010 on the speed tier. And looking at the rest of my team and at the tier 5s, the only mon that I thought to pick was What Those Hands Do, my Ambipom. Ambipom is quite a nice mon with that 115 speed, attack in 100 with that Technician. I can do a lot with Fake Out. It's a nice fast Fake Out mon. Does get Baton Pass, helps get that momentum if I want to. Does it get Nasty Plot? Yeah, it gets Nasty Plot. Does not get Swords Dance, but it does get Home Claws, so I could pass on a Nasty Plot to maybe my Primarina or my Ninetails. Maybe my Zapdos or my Mew or my Flygon. If I'm running them special, I could pass off Home Claws off to that Selgor to increase the accuracy of Mega Horn, as well as possibly to my Flygon to increase the accuracy of stone edges, as well as the damage output from it. Ambu does, like I say, give me that fast mon, good baton passer, good fake out user, gets a nice variety of physical moves. Flying, ghost, probably don't want to run beat up, probably don't want to run that astonish though. Bounce for flying, normal fighting, gets this counter, gets a lot of normal, gets dual chop to take out a mon that might be sashed. That's dragon, I don't know. Gets that facade, which is nice if someone wants to possibly burn it. Does get knockoff. Really do like that knockoff spam that I have, as well as the momentum with a lot of mons with baton pass and fault switch and U-turn. My main build for this team was that momentum around Mega Bayonet, so I can get into position to do a lot of damage. Get C-Bomb, Shadow Claw, Thunder Punch, as well as U-turn, so I don't have to baton pass for that damage. Status-wise, Speed Pass is banned, I believe, unless I missed something about that. Gets maybe pass off a defense curl. Probably not, but that'd be funny. Might go for a metronome set if I don't really know what else to have on here. If I have like 3 moves and can't figure out a 4th move for it, could get role play to get, I don't know, a good ability. Someone did draft Gen Mega, could take their speed boost ability, get fast with Ambu. Has that snatch to steal setup, taunt, fast thunder waver, which is nice. Can switcheroo. Yeah, it's a fast mon, so that switcheroo and thunder wave will be getting off quickly onto mons that could be a problem. Switcheroo, I could trick someone maybe a choice scarf or maybe choice band. If I might bring some weird set with physical moves like fake out, probably not fake out actually. Double hit, switcheroo, seed bomb and shadow claw maybe, I don't know, and give it a choice band so that I do damage to it. And then if they bring in like some defensive mon like Shuckle, just switcheroo that choice band on to them. If I decide that they're instantly going to switch into that on my Ambu after realizing it, after once being in that it was banded. And that is about it for my team this whole draft. I was really focusing on momentum grabbers like Mew, Zapdos, Darmanitan, Flygon, and Ambu, which is 5 of them, 5 out of 11, not bad for momentum grabbers, and get in some bulky offense like why do I always forget its name? Chestnut and Excavalier, as well as bulky on Lolamuck, and really just trying to get a team where types did not overlap. I did have one overlap with Alolan Ninetails and Primarina, but they do serve quite a difference. Primarina is more for the damage, and Alolan Ninetails is there for the support with the Aurora Veil. and it's more of an ice type than a fairy type, in my opinion. And that's it for my team. Hopefully it will bring me far, hopefully take me to the finals, which last season I did get 3rd overall because I choked in the semis, as that also happened to someone else in the other semis where it looked like they were going to win and they choked. And hopefully there is no choking this season with this team. And that is it for my team analysis. Leave a comment in the description on how you think my draft is, and I will be back next time for my week 1 video against a guy, coach of the oh gosh, it's not Virginia Voltorps, that's Arc. A guy is coach of the Dallas Starmies, one of the 2 Dallas teams. So see you next week, or yeah, maybe next week for that video. Bye.